Hello and welcome back to Utterly Unfiltered with Tash and
Cara.
We're so happy to have you back this week.
Thanks, guys.
It is a Monday, as per usual. And today we are talking about how to be your own best friend.
Love that. It kind of leads on very nicely from last week's.
We are good, aren't we?
Yeah. Well, we didn't intend it because we actually fucked up all the order of everything because we talked too much and we had to split episodes up into two. But naturally, we're just so good.
Yeah, we really are.
Because last week, I think, will be about how to be the best version of you in your 20s, or make
I
the
think
most
so,
of your
yeah.
20s.
Why your 20s matter? I'm pretty sure that's last week's episode.
And this is how to be your best friend.
It is. And honestly, I mean, I was saying to Cara, I texted her recently. I can't remember when it was. I can't remember if we talked about this before. But I've been listening.
Tash has had a glass of wine,
and
Tash has got the lowest tolerance in the whole entire world.
Okay, I don't know if you can see this on our video. Oh God, the light's just gone off.
Oh.
Okay, I'm gonna have to turn the light on. But I've literally had less than I've had like 4 sips. I've had 4 sips of wine and I'm drunk.
Like, I respect that so much. I have the highest tolerance that I could have, I could literally have a third of a bottle of vodka and still be okay. I'm a tank. I can't, should I just do jokes now? What do you call a fish with no eyes? A fish. What do you call a deer with no eyes?
No idea.
Okay. Spoil the punchline.
Okay. We got it. Ready? Oh, yeah, baby.
Oof.
Let's shine that light.
That's a blinder. I prefer that one though because it's more of like a natural light.
What, this one or this one?
No, the one you've got now.
Good. That's good then.
Yeah.
Okay, as we were, yes.
We were talking about how Tash has had how many sips of a glass of wine?
4.
And
you can literally see the line where I poured it is there.
What the hell?
Literally had.
And you feel like a little tipsy.
I'm tipsy, yeah.
I wish I was tipsy with you. I'm so
Cara's
sad.
still on dry jam.
God.
I know. If I was a good friend,
no, you are a good
I
friend.
would not be drinking too. But I'm not a good friend. So.
Oh my God, you honestly best believe if you were doing dry jam, I would be fucking pouring them back. In fact, I'd be having some on behalf of you as well, and I'd be justifying it like that. So
That's fair.
go. You
Yeah.
go.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
Thank you very much. Now, what was I saying?
You were messaging me not so long ago.
Oh yes, about our podcast, and I was saying how if you ever listen to actually one of our episodes, because I edit all of our episodes, so I listen to it while I'm editing them, but actually listening to them on the app as a listener, we're fantastic.
You reckon?
This is a great podcast, guys. You should definitely share it with a friend. 100%. One who likes to be entertained with a little bit of food for thought.
And maybe some jokes occasionally.
A few little jokes in there, you know.
You're going to keep my jokes in?
I don't know. What jokes did you tell?
Oh, they were funny. I'll let you have the joy of listening back to them.
Well,
I mean, you
the
ruined one of
suspense.
them, didn't you? So
The suspense will be happening as I edit this tour, as I decide whether or not I want to keep joking.
you have to, because now otherwise you'd have to take all of this out. Anyways, we digress. So,
Yes, what?
how's everything going?
How's life?
We like to start with a little bit of chitter-chatter first.
Oh,
Get to know us a bit.
Great question, honestly.
Wow, sounded like it was a loaded question.
No, life is good. Life is exciting. I'm moving out
You are, yeah.
very, very soon.
cool.
And we're going to Ali's parents
Nice.
for a couple of months. Bless you.
I sneezed.
And it's going to be interesting. Definitely. It's going to be a new dynamic.
I'll sneeze this way this
Oh,
time.
no,
I
you're
don't know why I
sneezing
sneezed that way.
again. My poor girl.
It's gone.
Oh, well done. Yeah, so that's what's going on at the moment, really. A little bit of change happening. I'm going to be sad to leave this house because I've really loved it
I've
here.
enjoyed it.
Honestly, where are we going to record the podcast? Bless you.
Thank you.
I think most episodes are going to be done at Cara's from now on, I think. I'll just keep coming home and we'll just record it there.
Yay.
Makes the most sense.
We
doesn't
should
it?
go to the caravan. Tash
Yes.
Tash has this amazing caravan in a place called Wells next to the sea, and it's on the Norfolk coastline. Beautiful.
Oh,
and
so
we've had
nice.
some fun times in that caravan, haven't we? It's lovely.
Yeah,
I
it's
love
so
it.
nice. And it's actually quite pretty as well, so we could probably
So
get some
pretty.
good videos and
Maybe
stuff
take
there.
Nona with us. Tash's dog.
My dog.
Yeah,
She
we
should
have
be
to.
woofing in the back of our videos.
She'd be like the feature guest. Like, what do you think?
Yeah, we
need
put
to,
her on the sofa right here.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
She can just watch with us. Maybe that'll be good for our viewers, actually. We can increase our
Oh
viewing.
my god,
by
we
putting
absolutely
Lona
would,
on.
and we could just hashtag dog life, hashtag dog cast,
Honestly,
hashtag puppy.
everyone
done.
loves Lona. Like, we've always said it, like, you know, there's a
Oh,
TV
they
show
do.
called Everybody Loves Raymond.
Yeah, it's
We've
Lona.
always said everybody loves Lona. Like, they just love her.
How could
She's
you
just
not?
so lovable, honestly.
So lovable.
So, bless that little cotton sucks.
I was at work yesterday. One of our colleagues is like doing a fostering a dog. And it's a Rottweiler, but it's like so cute. It's called Titan, and Titan was in the office yesterday. I honestly, it's the most unproductive I've ever been, and I could say the same for my colleagues. It's like a happy distraction. But,
Have you ever thought about getting a dog?
yes, but too much commitment.
Yeah.
Especially when I'm just trying to like figure out my own like everything. Like, how do I look after myself? And then maybe a dog.
Yeah.
But one day, a Cavapoo is quite appealing to me because they're so cute and like small.
They woof a lot, though.
Oh no, but they're so cute.
They're really woofy.
But they're so cute.
I know. God.
Well, clearly
I'm a
not
bit
your
biased
favourite
against
breed.
Cavapoos and Cockapoos, actually. Although, I would say my cousins have a Cavapoo and a Cockapoo. Oh, maybe 2 Cockapoos, but they're like quite small ones. But they're actually quite cute. I do like those ones. In general, they are whack jobs.
Okay,
They are.
that's probably why I
insane
would love
dogs.
one.
They are just.
We'd like feed off each other, you know.
just tear right around your
Yeah,
house.
we would. Like, and I'd be also on all fours. Like, God, I'm not even drinking. I don't know what my excuse is. Yeah, I'm secondhand tipsy.
Yeah. That's
should
good. I need to
actually-
give you some.
Oh, I need to get my. I'll do that after this. I'll get my little cool
Yeah,
drinks.
she's got a little
Woohoo!
mocktail in the
So
fridge.
fucking fun. Anyways, my liver will be happy with me.
Yes.
So how to be your best friend?
Your own best friend.
Your own best friend.
Yeah.
So-
good episode.
Someone made notes on this. Someone did not.
No.
I'll let you decide who, if you can't see us. Otherwise, I made it obvious. It sounds like a really simple concept, isn't it? And it follows on from the last episode of like, do you create yourself or do you have to learn yourself? And I think either way, like showing up for yourself is the most important thing. Like you would a friend, right? If your friend is going through something, or the advice that you would give to someone about a particular conflict or a decision that they're trying to make, or just like, you know, it's treating yourself as you would if you were a friend of yours. Because I think quite often our self-narrative is very different. I don't know about you, but like you could literally come to me and tell me that you want to paint and put all your passion into painting, and I will be like, yes, like you've got it, life's too short, and this is your, you know, find what makes you happy and all this and that. In my mind, the equivalent would not be true of music. I would be telling myself, oh my god, like, oh, it's not enough money, like I'm too old, like, so it's sort of changing that narrative. I don't know why it is that we speak to ourselves differently, that we beat ourselves up, whereas if someone else had the same problem, we would be perhaps very different.
Risk, I think, is the biggest reason, honestly. For us, it feels like a huge risk to take a chance on ourselves and a huge responsibility to carry out that chance.
Yeah.
Whereas when it's someone else, even someone that you love, the risk is theirs at the end of the day.
True.
And
yeah, so I don't mind if you fuck up your life, but I don't want to fuck up mine.
honestly, it's not in that, not such an aggressive way, but more so in the senses that we can't reflect on the ups and downs of somebody else's life. We can only reflect on the good, right? Because it's all we can see.
That's true.
So, or we can empathize with the bad, but we're not going to actually feel it ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, it's not the same. There's not the same risk level, I guess. And we can't see their doubts. We can only see our own too. So it's like, it's easy to believe in somebody else's talent and somebody else's interests because you don't see the self-doubt, you know?
That's so true. That's so true. And actually, like, I had read this the other day on, it was like Instagram. I seems to be where I get all of my sources of my knowledge. My Tash reads books and I just read Instagram memes. But it ties very much in with being your own best friend. Have you ever been obsessed with someone to the point where like everything that they do you just like adore and like you kind of, you can't find, there's no fault, you cannot find any fault in them, like everything they, like you're just drawn in to this person. Yeah, that totally counts. You're obsessed with them, and I honestly think like the energy exertion that goes into that, like if you could turn it inwards and actually look at yourself that way, admire your eyes or your freckles or you know, laugh and then think, oh, that was a cute laugh. Like, literally, if you're obsessed with yourself.
Yeah.
Imagine.
Yeah, it'd be crazy.
Not to the point where it's, like, arrogance, but I just think, like, how you would a friend, like, someone you deeply admire, it's like turning it inwards.
I agree with you, and I think I mean, for me, like one of the best or most important things about being your own best friend is that ultimately as pessimistic as this sounds, the only person you can rely on is yourself.
Yeah.
As like you can have hope that somebody else can be relied on, but sometimes the closest people to you will go through things at the same time as you're going through something, and therefore you can't rely on them to carry all of your burden because they're carrying their own burden at the same time. So the only person you can rely on to carry that burden is yourself.
It's so true.
And I think that as scary as that might feel to somebody who is codependent or who is really relies heavily on their mum or their sister or their friend or their partner for all of their ups and downs, and to go through all their sadness with and their happiness with, and to share all their good and their bad memories with, you will have a lot more freedom and you'll have much better relationships when you can actually carry all of those things for yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
For sure. I think with that comes like you learn to trust yourself. You learn initially, if you're that kind of person who does rely heavily on other people, I've been one of them. I think you sort of have to, it's that initial discomfort and it will be scary, but then it's like the more you do it and the more that you catch yourself, the more you trust yourself. Like any relationship that you build, like you have to evidence it. It's like actions speak louder than words. And if you show up for yourself and you constantly do manage to pick yourself up and feel okay about it, I think then you prove to yourself.
Definitely. And I do think it's mindset when it comes to this kind of be your own best friend energy as well, because I've spoken to people about this before, but for me, every time I've gone through something hard, it's proved to myself that I can do it, and it's made me feel stronger.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes for some people, going through something hard feels like a personal weakness, and therefore it makes them feel more vulnerable.
Sure. Yeah.
And I do think a lot of that is mindset. A lot of that is, are you seeing it as, look at that horrible thing I went through and how I picked myself up? Or are you saying, and look where I am now compared to where I was? Or are you saying, look at that horrible thing I went through, that must have been my fault in some way, and therefore I have to blame and berate myself for it and feel like I am responsible for it and therefore think of myself badly.
Perspective is everything.
Definitely. Or even, I mean, there's a third one too, which is, I went through this horrible thing, that must be somebody out there, that's the universe's fault. They must hate me.
Karma.
This is my bad luck, my karma. I don't know how I could ever get through something like this again because, I've been thrown so much shit in my life. Oh my God. It's never going to get better. This is just my luck. This is my lot in life. That's another way.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy then, isn't it? It's like you tell yourself all these things and then that becomes your narrative and then you reinforce it and it's a cycle.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's absolutely, and I think, do you know what? So much of it is action for me. Like, I don't always like to do this though, but I should be. It's like your bad habits. Like, for example, I feel like because I'm doing dry Jan on my high horse over here after 18 days sober, I know that drinking to excess is not good for my mental or physical health, but I still do it. When I do something like this, I know I'm doing it. Yeah, I'm doing it to prove to my parents that I can, basically. But also, I'm doing it to treat myself better. Yeah. And I think having engaged in this process, it's more than just not drinking. It's like value myself enough to kind of like deny myself of the sort of just like the sort of quick dopamine hits and actually like invest in myself. It feels more like an investment. And I think it's like getting rid of the negative habits, be them like spending time with people that make you feel shit about yourself, or drinking, or doing something like doing a job that you really hate. Like it's respecting and valuing yourself enough to cut those out of your life. And then the opposite is true. It's the things that give you joy. I know that this is where like solo dates are really important as well, because I think you learn a lot what gives you joy. But incorporating more of what you actually love into your life, even if it's a guilty pleasure, just letting yourself do it. Like it's telling yourself that you value yourself and you want yourself to be happy like you would a friend, right? Like you wouldn't advocate for a friend to engage in, well, if you do, then you're probably not a great friend. But say you had would drink to excess and I was like feeding you alcohol and egging you on, wouldn't be a good friend move. That would be a dick move. But me saying to you, Tash, I love you, maybe like let's like why don't we have mocktails tonight? Okay, maybe I have no right to do that either. But if you then turn that around on yourself, like that is what that is what I would want to do for myself.
Yeah.
But I agree with you on this sort of like, the more you push yourself, the more you learn that you are capable. And this is even in, again, I go back to actions, because I do honestly think that you do actions and then it changes your mindset. In New Zealand, you know, when I mentioned that I skydived and swam with dolphins,
Yes.
and things that were totally out of my comfort zone.
So amazing.
But I was so proud that I did them.
Yeah.
Like I was, because I never thought that I would. And when you prove that you can overcome fears, I think there is a self-respect element to that.
Yes.
And I was like, yeah, like you know, that was a big thing for me.
Definitely.
And I think you almost become who you would want to be if you were your friend.
That's the I like that. That's
It sits in my head.
You know, it makes sense out loud as well. And what you just referred to was the confidence competence loop.
Ooh.
Which is where
Hit me with some
the
sexy
more
psychology.
the more you try to do things.
No, that's me moving.
Okay, good. I was like, oh my god, someone's outside.
We've been scared.
We have, yeah. We've been jump scared a few times, and now I'm on edge. The more you attempt new things and try to do things, and the more you succeed at those things and prove to yourself that you're capable of them, the more confident you will then feel that you have the competence to do those things again.
True. That's true.
And it just creates this circle. Every time you try and you succeed, you then create that, like, you know, that neuro whatever enough to believe that you're capable of doing it again.
That's true.
It just keeps going. And the sadistic thing about life is that we create that with horrible experiences all the time, because unfortunately life isn't pain-free. That's just not how the world works. Life is pain. And we are going to continue to experience painful things forever, but every time we experience them, we have the choice to look at it and think, wow, I overcame something that was really hard and scary, and I'm still here. I know that I can do that again if I need to. And you probably will, because that is life, and you're just going to keep going around. But you can at least trust yourself that you are capable of doing that thing and getting through that thing, you know?
But it's also like, yes, we need to be lenient for ourselves, because sometimes there are days where you just need to do what you can to cope. But there are other times when you go through this difficult event and then you do have the choice of a healthy coping mechanism, maybe speaking to someone, or an unhealthy one. And we let ourselves down when we choose the unhealthy route. That is said by someone who does often choose the unhealthy route.
Yeah.
And I, you know, actually sometimes that's just what you need to do. Sometimes you just need to have, like, I don't know what it is that you do to make yourself feel better. Like, if you're already in the depths and it's gonna help you in the moment, like, I get that too. But long term, I think it's learning better ways to cope with things, because it's not sustainable sometimes.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's true.
And earlier on you spoke about, like, going on solo dates and things like that.
Yeah.
I think that whole concept of becoming your own best friend, I think being able to be alone with yourself is like one of these things that is so much easier said than done, and it will not be...
You're stealing my notes, by the way.
Sorry, am I?
Yeah. Tash is like using my notes for reference now. I'm getting a little bit... Now I'm standing up for myself, which was also on my notes. You probably read them.
Hand over here so I can't see your notes.
Because I'm setting boundaries and respecting myself.
Well, why don't you tell us about solo dates then, Cara?
No,
Go on.
okay. I actually like that. You go now.
All I was going to say was that it's going to be uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah.
At the beginning, it will be uncomfortable. And also, not even just at the beginning, but if you ever get out of practice.
Okay.
Like, I'm out of practice with solo dates. Like, I've not done that in a while. And I used to travel by myself and do all sorts of things by myself. Like, eat at restaurants by myself. I was never bothered.
Yeah.
But I did it all the time.
Yeah.
And now I'm out of practice. I'm in a long-term relationship. I don't really I don't go to the supermarket by myself.
Yeah, okay.
So you will get out of practice, and then when you start doing it again, it will feel uncomfortable, but you'll get there. Like, you just keep going.
What did you find were the benefits? Like, if you could think about benefits of doing the solo dates or the solo travel, like, what did you enjoy the most about spending time with yourself?
I think probably the biggest benefit or good thing was just realizing that it isn't as scary as I thought in the grand scheme of things, and that, like, no one really cares.
Okay.
Like, really, I went to restaurants by myself, like proper restaurants. Like, I'd go to like a pizzeria or something like that by myself, and I'd be sat there by myself. I've even been on holiday by myself too, as in, like, I've done traveling, but also, like, I've gone to a all-inclusive resort for 4 nights by myself. Like, most people would think, like, all-inclusive, it's full of couples, it's full of families. I literally was not the only person there who was by themselves.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that weird, and it's only weird in your in your own head. And I had sat there and I had my glass of wine every night and read on my Kindle. And I felt great.
Nice. So is that the biggest, would that be the biggest preventative in terms of, or when you say you have to, it's uncomfortable at first, is that because of the external judgment that you think exists? Not because you're...
Well, two
or
reasons, I
is
think.
Is it also?
I think it could be both. I think there could be the fear people are judging you or looking at you because you're alone, and that's outside the norm. For example, if you go into the cinema and you go and you ask for a ticket, but it's just you by yourself, you might think, oh, this cashier probably only serves couples. Well, for one, highly doubt that's true.
Sure.
But for two, like, it doesn't feel like it's normal, so therefore you feel uncomfortable with it.
Okay. Sure.
But the second point, I think if you're someone who has ever struggled with their mental health or with their inner critic, it's also uncomfortable in the sense of you're actually having to be alone with your thoughts, and sometimes they're not the nicest things in the world.
Sure.
And like anyone who's tried and failed at meditating or anything, or who has to have music on 24/7 or be watching a TV show all the time so their mind doesn't wander. You know, there are people out there who are like that, who go to bed every night watching something, listening to something, whatever it is, because they feel uncomfortable. And like, don't get me wrong, like if I'm on the house by myself, I'll put to the TV on to go to sleep, because my mind will go to places that are quite dark about my safety. Like that's just how my brain works. And so you have coping mechanisms, which are things like watching TV or listening to stuff, and therefore if you take yourself out of that position and you're out there and you're in the world without anyone to distract you, that can be quite nerve-wracking and scary for people, you know?
That's true. And I'm not someone who's done a lot of, like, the extent of my solo dates is really, like, going for walks, like nature walks, which I actually loved. That was great. But then a lot of the times I was really focused on, like, my external environment, and I was trying to pay attention to what was on around me. So I wasn't really, like, trying to connect with myself per se, although I did inevitably in doing that. Like, in doing the nature sort of projections, I sort of found some kind of connection. So I did enjoy it. But then also, like, I guess, like, it's a stretch to be like in airports when I'm by myself, or in train stations I'll go and get a coffee or whatever, but I haven't been someone who will go into a coffee shop by myself or a restaurant and just for the purpose of being alone. I do it if it's just the means to an end. And I that is one of my, if I had set resolutions, which I'm not going to, because I will just inevitably rebel from them because I just don't like structure. But if I were to, it would be to go and do solo dates. I will be the person who's uncomfortable with other people, possibly judging me, but probably not giving a shit. And also that person who's like, ooh, I'm alone with myself. Yeah. Like now,
where is my thoughts going to go? Yeah.
I absolutely have the headphones in 24/7. Like Jesus, I don't like to not. I'm the same, like going to work, driving in the car, I'm going to have something on. I'm not going to just be there with my thoughts.
And like so many people feel that way, like so many people. But I think in order to accomplish the goal of becoming your own best friend, you do need to be able to accept. I think the biggest thing about this is that it's not pretending like there's no negative thoughts, pretending like the inner critic isn't there. It's just accepting the fact that that's just not who you are. That critic can say whatever the fuck it wants, and sometimes it might be right, and sometimes, most of the time, it's incredibly wrong. Sure. It doesn't matter. That's just, laugh at it. That's not you. You know, that's stupid. That's that silly gremlin in your brain. Chatting shit. Saying things that you know aren't true. Just like, if, you know, someone was stood next to you and saying all those things about you, you'd be like, excuse me?
You defend yourself. Like, that's what I'm saying, though. Your narrative towards other people is so different to how it is to ourselves. We will self-deprecate all the time. But if someone else disrespects us, I'll feel a certain way about it. I'll stand up for myself. That is one of my points, though, is like being consistently standing up for yourself. I was in a really, like, terrible habit of this a few years ago, where people would tease me, and then I would sort of tease myself to try and like beat them to it. To be like, oh yeah. Or to kind of try and reduce, like, if ever I thought that someone thought that I was like really egotistical or overconfident or thought I was great at music, I'd kind of brush it, I'd make it a joke. And I'd be like, oh, look at me, I still do it, right? But I'll be like, oh, look at me thinking I can
overly self-depreciating.
In front of people, to make them know that I also know that I'm silly.
You're in on the joke.
Exactly. To maybe take some power away, or just to make myself look better, whatever. But what does that tell yourself?
Well, this is what I was saying, you know, about that episode we did on red flags in dating, about taking yourself seriously.
Yeah.
That's really, what you just said is pretty much exactly what I was referring to. It's this concept of like, and for context, in the episode I said a red flag is someone who has in their dating profile, I'm looking for someone who doesn't take themselves seriously. And the reason being is because of literally what you just said. If you're looking for someone who wants to depreciate themselves actively in front of other people, then you clearly think bad things about people, you know? Because like you're choosing to depreciate yourself so that the people around you don't do it first.
Yeah, or that they feel better, or that like, yeah.
But you've learned that doesn't actually work, and that's not a positive mechanism for you, right?
Yeah, well, I think I've learned that that's not how I can be my best friend.
Yes.
Like that, it would be the opposite. It would be standing up for myself to other people publicly, which I suppose is to other people, and to myself, like, and internally, is being like, if I think, oh my god, I'm too old to do music. I always come back to this because it's the most topical thing for me at the moment going on. But then it's like actively challenging that and being like, actually, no, you can be whatever age. Like, don't. It's like, it's doing it internally as well as externally.
Yeah.
And setting boundaries. Like, I think that's such a form of self-love. Self-love in general, I'm such a big advocate for. Like, you know, be it that you go and like have a nice bath, or you treat yourself to like a manicure, or binge watch that series that your guilty pleasure. Like, I'm such an advocate for actually showing action to yourself and treating yourself, and I think boundaries is just one of those. And it's reinforcing to yourself that your level of comfort and preferences in terms of socialization or whatever it is, like it's showing yourself that you have your back and that you're willing to make these uncomfortable changes and set boundaries with people for your benefit, not for theirs. You're actually kind of discounting their benefit. You're appreciating that your benefit is more valuable to you, as it should be, because
as it should be.
You're number one to you.
I love that.
We have these little, someone said once, like, imagine if we were, I'm just like chatting this whole episode.
But I love it.
Someone like said once about, and I've mentioned it in a podcast before, imagine you're born and you are assigned this human.
Yes.
Right? And your sole job in life is to look after this human from a completely holistic perspective. So from what they eat, from the exercise they do, from you know, the friends they have, the everything, like their mental health. This is your job. And it's like, if you were to take it seriously and this was your job to look after, you'd probably do a way better job, if you could think that way.
Yeah, if you could think of yourself as a dependent that you're responsible for.
Right, exactly. And that is, because we often think in life our job is to either make other people happy or is to actually work and to build a house and to you know, do some like charity, and all this stuff is great, and yes, we should do all that, but actually you should be your job.
Yes.
You.
Yeah.
Everything else is part of it, but you should be it. Like the constant like work in progress, and that's where your investment should go.
Because again, you're the only constant. The house can come and go. The job can come and
you're
go.
You're with me for life,
like,
right?
you are there for life.
Yeah.
You're never going to get rid of yourself.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not possible to do that.
That is, okay, this is, again, is kind of deep, but I think that is when people try to do things like drugs or alcohol. I think they try and detach.
Escape
because they don't want to be themselves. And that in itself, like, is not something I can go into here because I don't have advice for that. But I know that that's why sometimes it happens.
Yeah.
Because you try and detach.
And I think, like, if you think about it this way, it's like accepting that you are your lot. You are what you've got in life.
Yeah.
And you can't escape that. You can't outrun it.
Not long term anyway.
No, you can't change like who you are, as in who is right in front of you right now. You can't change your experiences, the things you've gone through in life. You can't change certain aspects of your personality. You can't change majority of the aspects of your looks and all that kind of thing. All you can do is accept that this is your lot. And it's like, honestly, I think something that we just don't really think about. It's like we just go around life thinking that we can be anyone or anything that we want to be except for ourselves. Yeah. It's like, no, you have got you. Focus on you. Yeah. Like,
and grow you. I do, like, you can change and you can grow and you can develop. Obviously, that's the whole point of this podcast. But you should be at the core of that. It shouldn't be like, oh, so and so over there is doing this cool thing, I need to do that.
No.
Like, no, you need to do what you are, who you are. It's so relevant, like, even in the context of art, right? Like, your artwork is an expression of you. My music, my songs are an expression of me, and I've tried to do it where I'm kind of blending into what other, what I think will sell, or other people's versions of what's acceptable. And ultimately, it gives me no value. But I find like when I find myself in that, when I'm writing something for me that is setting my heart on fire, like that's what we should be focusing on.
I love
Sounds
that.
so simple, but I don't do this
No.
like as much as I should. I'm not saying it's easy. It's hard to do that.
It is hard, and I think I think the hardest part is because we have been through shit in our lives, and we have done things we're not always proud of or excited by, or there have been things put on us by teachers or whoever, or parents or whoever in life that perhaps don't make us feel great about ourselves. We don't want to accept that that's just who we are.
Yeah,
like we don't want to accept that, and we want to be able to think that we can magically jump from person who sat on the sofa to person who runs a marathon in 2 days flat. We don't want to realize that actually you can't change overnight. You have to grow slowly
You invest
to become
in yourself.
that person. It's a long-term investment. If I was to go from me right now to me marathon runner, it would take me 6 months. Like it's not going to happen tomorrow. But but I think our brains look at a marathon runner and think, if I was that person, I'd be happy.
Or
I could be that person, and that person's got it right and I've got it wrong, and therefore I've got to beat myself up for not being that person,
exactly,
whilst at the same time starving myself, taking myself out on runs, doing unhealthy things to get to that place as quick as humanly possible. Because I don't want to accept the fact that I am me and they are them.
Or you do the opposite and you think, I could never be like them because they're just, look at them, they're just naturally built for it, or they've had all this money and funding and sponsorship. I'm not even going to try. I could never do that. But ultimately, like, you work with you and your capabilities and your preferences, and you go in the direction, and like, honestly, I don't think you ever get anywhere in life, in the sense of like, I don't think there's an end goal. Like, yes, you can run that marathon, but I think it's like the beauty and the joy should be in the process of working towards it.
Yeah.
And that won't be helpful for everyone, but I'm very much that. But if I don't have a goal, I'm aimless. I would rather have a goal that's unreachable, like music, never reach it, but still always be working for it, because that is my purpose. That's what drives me. I don't need to be like, it would be great to be successful at it too. Weird like little thing that Will Smith once said, I know he's a bit controversial now, but it was something to do with like, he runs in the act of having the goal. It teaches you to break through barriers and to... it all comes back to that trust. It reinforces that you can keep going. Like, you can rely on yourself to be resilient, and even though you're exhausted and you can't breathe and you're panting, you can push yourself and you can overcome obstacles. And that's, he literally, I think in that interview that I watched, he attributes a lot of his success to the fact that he runs.
Really?
Because it's the mentality of perseverance.
Discipline, commitment.
All of that, thank you. Exactly.
Interesting.
So
I have to agree, because I do think discipline is incredibly important. I wouldn't say I'm particularly good at it, but it's something that I'm working on and I'm reading a lot about at the moment, because I do think in order to do that whole confidence, show up for yourself, commit to yourself, I do think you need to learn an aspect of discipline. And I think that depending on our upbringing, sometimes we cannot have that. I did have a disciplined upbringing to some extent. It wasn't terrible, but like, I don't mean like discipline. I just mean like, as in I was taught rules and boundaries and restrictions, which is a good thing.
Yeah, of course,
they are.
They definitely have
I
their
do
value.
think I lost those over the years as an adult, given the freedom.
Sure.
Which sometimes is what happens.
Sure.
I'm trying to get back into that routine of like committing to yourself and things.
Well, I don't know if you lose them as much as they shift, because when you're growing up, they're inserted on you by other people.
Yes.
And then you have to learn how to set them for yourself.
That's a very good point, actually, because a lot of the time, that's actually a very good point, and it links into being your own best friend as well, is that it can be, you did a good job there. When you're younger, it's oftentimes that you are told what to do and what not to do by somebody else, and that actually lasts all the way up until university, really.
Yeah.
And then you leave university.
Even now, sometimes I listen to Mummy.
There you go.
Mummy tells me what to do.
And
I listen. Because Mummy knows best.
You're a good girl, aren't you?
Angel.
She is.
It's my tiny little halo, which sometimes devil is.
Depending on what kind of mood you're in.
It really does.
But then you have to learn to actually put those restrictions on yourself. And that can be a very, like, honestly, like a really hard task, in the sense of like, where do you even start,
True, but everyone goes through it, and everyone has to decide for themselves where their rules are and where their boundaries are.
Yeah. And how to keep themselves accountable as
Yeah.
well, which is probably one of the hardest things, really.
And how to not hold themselves accountable for shit that's not their
True.
trash.
Yeah.
It's such a process of like wheedling out what's helpful and what's not, and I don't think we spend time doing it. That's why having taken that time out for me under the guise of music actually allowed me so much time to actually just consider my values and my preferences and sort of reconnect with myself.
Yeah.
Because you don't take the time to do it. No one says that that's important at school.
No.
Like, they say getting a job is important and that's how you lead a good life.
Yeah.
And that's how you achieve things. They don't actually teach you about actually yourself.
No.
Or how to look after yourself from the human emotive perspective, not just from the
No.
physical, I know how to feed
I don't
myself.
even know if they'd know how to do that, you know?
No, I don't think you can.
As
We're
you
all
come
so
from this
different.
whole podcast, it is so different
So
and
personal.
so complicated
Yeah.
and so just layers after layers that it's something you just have to learn for yourself, unfortunately.
So true.
All right, any more? Well, what about some physical tips on how to actually become your own best friend, rather than the concept of being your own best friend?
Well, we've done the solo dates are important. Like I said, the self-care for me is a big one. That's a personal one. But literally having allowing myself a bath, candles, nice little music, and a face mask. I just feel like I'm treating myself, and I'm like that. I love it. I love it. Those little small things you could do for yourself, those little treats that you give yourself, I think are super, super helpful.
Yeah.
How to become your best friend. Some people like to write notes to themselves, which I find quite cute.
That's cute. I like that,
They
yeah.
write notes to themselves or their future selves. Some people journal because it kind of allows their thoughts to escape out of the page, and that is something that they really can learn from and then move on from. And it just allows them a blank canvas for the day. I know that's not strictly becoming your best friend, but yeah, I honestly think getting to know yourself, spending time with yourself, appreciating your own, maybe I know you like a list, making lists of what you like about yourself.
Yeah.
Like you would in your head about other people.
Yeah.
Just lists do you love your humor? Do you value your, your beliefs? What is it?
Yeah. Yeah, I like
I don't know.
those.
What about you? Nuggets of wisdom.
I think I have a handful. One is, I think the most important one is stop asking other people's opinions on your decisions. Start small, right?
Big one.
You're going on a night out with some friends.
Yeah.
Stop asking people what they're wearing. Just
Yes.
get dressed in what
Okay.
you feel comfortable with.
I've heard this
Get
before.
out the house.
So true.
So important.
So true.
What's the dress code? Who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
Wear what you feel good in. That's what's
Touche.
most important.
Touche.
Stop asking people's opinions. Should I take this job? Should I not take this job? Do you want the job?
Yeah.
If you do, take it. If you don't, no.
Yeah.
Just turn that
So true.
that mindset inward and just stop asking people's opinions on things that only really matter to you.
Yeah. So true.
Number two, kind of leading on from what you said about writing a list or something like that, I would say positive affirmations really worked so well for me.
Yeah, okay.
Write down 5. Think about five things. You can think about one thing that you like about yourself, one thing that you wish you liked about yourself. You can say, for me, for example, I am creative, and then I could have, I am strong. And then I could have one thing that I know I'm not, but that I wish I was.
Okay.
For example, I am disciplined. I guess a great example, because I'm not disciplined. I'm trying my best.
You did run a half marathon. I think your
Yes,
discipline
I
comes
tried.
out in ways.
It comes in ways.
Yeah.
Write down one thing you admire in other people. For me, that would be I am kind. And then write down one thing that seems out of its reach for you. For example, I am successful. And then have those 5 things on a post-it note on your mirror and just repeat those to yourself every morning when you're brushing your teeth, every night when you're brushing your
Yeah,
teeth.
that's cool.
And
Yeah.
you'd be surprised how quickly I did this during lockdown, and it made such a big difference to my confidence specifically.
Yeah.
I had weird complexes around my intelligence and how interesting I was, and just things that I do not relate to now at all. So I had things like I am smart, I am interesting, I am intelligent, things that now I don't necessarily need to have on my
Because you
board
believe them?
because I
You've
believe
internalized
them.
them.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But at the time I did not, and it literally worked for me.
Yeah,
So
good.
important.
So good, yeah.
I think if you beat yourself up about your body, people will have different opinions about this, but I do personally think about your face, your body, what you look like, your human vessel, as Cara said. I personally find, actually look at yourself more. And this sounds weird because people think, oh, well, it doesn't really matter what you look like, so stop looking at yourself. You're ignoring the problem. You're just thinking it'll go away. Maybe one day when I look in the mirror, I'll be pretty, because it'll go away. I don't need to think about it.
Okay.
Actually, looking at yourself in the mirror without makeup on, looking at yourself in the mirror without clothes on, and just realizing that is who you are.
And learning to love that. Learning to love your flaws.
Yeah.
Like,
it's just who you are. It's
yeah.
You're not even learning to love it. It's just acceptance.
Yeah.
It's like, you can't do anything about it. Just accept it. You look like that. You are going to look like that probably forever. In fact, and if anything, you're going to get older.
Yeah.
You're going to get saggier. Okay? So you may as well just accept that that is who you are. And I know it's easier than done. If you have any actual issues with body image and that kind of stuff, go to a therapist 100%. But for me, and accepting my body as it's changed over the years, and accepting my face as I've worn less and less makeup over the years, because I've always worn and loved makeup, looking at myself, actually seeing who I am, has made me like myself more.
Also, though, that whole thing, so you know when I talked earlier about like when you completely obsess over someone, either you've got a crush, or you just like you want to be like them, or you think they're just drop dead, and everything about, like, you'll stare into their eyes and you'll look at their smile. It's like doing that in the mirror. That process I love.
Yeah.
I don't do it consistently. I need to, but there'll be like, I got into a routine of it for like a week, where I'd wake up and I look in the mirror and I just smile.
Yeah.
And then I just like smile at myself.
I love that.
And it was like, actually, I got to the point where I was like, yeah, you do. And I've never loved my squint eyes or my teeth, you know, like at the bottom are a bit wonky now, but like I just smiled. And then you make yourself want to smile, and then you look at your eyes and you're like, I love my eyes.
Yes.
And you even just tell yourself that, and then you start believing it. Like
100%.
I love that process. So I can advocate for that to an extent, like looking at yourself.
Yeah.
And it's like making peace with it. And then once you're at the making peace stage, then you can maybe build up from there and start loving it. You know?
I think the whole
Takes a while.
the self-love
It's a
thing, I think,
practice thing.
is hard, and there's a lot of like influencers out there who really advocate for, you know, like
Coats
loving
and-
yourself and your body, and like
Yeah.
touching, you know, your arms and experiencing yourself. And I think that's amazing. I don't think I'm there, or probably will ever be there.
Sure.
I think I'm just very much like, this is who I am. A bit like I am with my personality now as well. It's like, I can't necessarily change it, and
you've
I don't
accepted.
really want to.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get
That's
anything
good,
out of
though.
it.
You
It's
don't want
like,
to.
yeah.
That's good, because you know who you are and you're happy with who you are.
You may as well just be
Enough to-
happy.
Yeah.
And realizing a lot of the time the reason you want to change yourself is because you've seen something or someone
course.
online and you think, I need to be like them. You've seen, you know, I have a square jaw, and all these people are getting master Botox now. It's such
Yeah.
a massive thing. Everyone's getting Botox here to loosen their
Oh.
jaws so that they slim their faces on the side.
Oh.
I'm like, and there was a point in time where I was like, oh my God, should I get that? Maybe that would work really well for me. I have a square jaw. I'm always going to have a square jaw. It's just who I am. It's what my face looks like. This is my face. I don't want to not look like me. That sounds weird to me. It's like, you don't need to change yourself into who you think you should look like, and then, maybe then I'll like myself.
Yeah.
It's like, just like yourself.
It's one of those where, like, I advocate people that want to get like work done and stuff. Like, if that makes you feel better about yourself, I think honestly the whole point, like, we all have this life to lead, and whatever we can do to feel, if you feel good and it makes you confident, awesome. Wear that makeup, get that tattoo, get the nose job, whatever, like, good for you. But yes, ultimately, learning to love who you are at your core.
It's all about motivation, is what it is, I think. If your motivation is from a place of, you know, oh, well, I may as well. I've got the money. I'm interested in trying it out. Let's see what filler does for me, or Master Botox for me, or whatever it is does for me. Fine, you know. If you're doing it for a motivation of like, this person's done it and it looks good on them, maybe I'm looking good. Maybe I'll be happy when I no longer have this or that or whatever.
Yeah, true.
It's never going to make you happy.
1000% had that with, like, when I had lost that ton of weight, thinking, okay, that's gonna fulfill me, and I'm gonna like feel sexy, and I'm gonna like want to wear bikinis, and like everyone will like think I look great. I had never been more depressed in my life.
Yeah.
And it's also because it was coming from a place of like punishment or like negativity. Maybe if I'd lost it because I love exercise and it was just a natural byproduct, then I'd be like, oh great, I look good in the process, like cool. But because it had come from a place of like lack of self-esteem, it only reinforced it, because then I realized it didn't actually change anything about how I felt about myself. And then if anything, other people were like, there was a brief period where people were like, oh, you look great, but then ultimately people were like, oh no, I'm worried about you, you don't look so good. And then either way, you're fucking like, then you feel even worse because you're guilty, and you're like feeling like, so shit. You're right, you make peace with who you are, accept who you are, and then do things that benefit you, and if they make you feel more confident, awesome, but don't do it because you're so low.
No,
because that's then, if you anything that you go into from a place of feeling low about it, it's just gonna be worse.
Honestly, the whole body image thing, we could do talk so much about it.
We should do separate podcasts about it.
The concept
God.
and where it all comes from originally, and the patriarchy, and
Yeah,
how
shit.
the things we could do with our brains if we weren't worried about the way that we look.
And different cultures that value different body types.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus.
And
wow.
over the years, how it's changed. It is just
mental.
Craziness out there.
Body dysmorphia, a massive thing too, that we're programmed into, but we can't go into. It's too much of a big topic. We will do separate episodes about this. We'll add it to the list because I think it's something probably everyone struggles with at some point in their lives.
Absolutely, 100%. Well, we're just conditioned to. I think. I honestly think. I don't think there's a single woman out there who can say they've never looked at themselves and wanted to change something.
Oh my God!
I do not think there's a single woman on this entire planet.
Probably on a daily basis too.
Yeah.
Even as 100%. Much as we try and we practice. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
Okay. Any last minute ones? I'm trying to think if there's any last minute tips I have on becoming your own best friend.
Practical ones.
I do think that was that all of them.
Be honest with yourself. I've got that one down there, but
yeah, I think that's all of them. Honestly, I'm happy with that.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah. 5. Love it.
Let's be our own besties.
Smashed it. Yeah, you're my bestie too, though. By the way.
Oh, you're my bestie too. Even though you're drinking right now and I'm not.
Do you feel very jealous?
So much jealousy.
Oh,
and green is not my colour. But I'm staying strong, guys, because this is another one of those showing up for myself moments.
Exactly.
I will let myself down if I prove that I can't stick with my guns.
Okay. Got this.
Guys, please go, and if you are sympathetic at all towards me doing Dry January, I would love a little 5-star rating and a kudos on the pod. Thank
love
you so
that.
Much. Yeah. I'm using any leverage I can. And please join us again next week. We will be back.
We'll be back again next week. Thank you so much for listening. We love you so much.
Also, sorry to interrupt you.
Please.
If there's anything you guys want us to cover,
amazing
or
idea.
if you want to contribute and disagree with us, agree with us, give us your little bits of wisdom. We do not know everything. We are just speaking from experience, no knowledge whatsoever. So we all have different experiences. We all learn.
We do
different
have
things.
We have a email address actually.
Do
you
we?
Can email us.
Oh,
and
I didn't know that.
You can obviously find us on Instagram. It's Utterly Unfiltered.
Oh yeah, that
and
makes sense.
I mean, TikTok, if it's still around at this point in time, it's also called Utterly Unfiltered. But we are on Gmail. It is Utterly Unfiltered Pod. pod @gmail.com. Drop us an email. Let us know what you wish we talked about, what you like or dislike about the podcast.
Be nice though. Don't be a dick about it.
Don't be a dick about it.
No one needs to be a dick about it.
It's just a podcast, guys. It's not that deep, okay?
We're just having a bit of fun.
Yeah.
Remember we had that hateful comment on Insta and it really troubled me, and you were like,
it literally doesn't matter. I don't care.
Oh my God, I was so gutted.
No, it was like you could just have this conversation between the two of you. It's like, no.
You've been so good every podcast.
Yeah, it's
kind of not the point of podcasts.
Yeah, ridiculous concept. Anyways,
thanks,
we love you guys.
We love you.
Bye.